Welcome to Inbox Roundup number 19. Today we're going to talk about CRAM systems, the counter rocket, mortar, and artillery system, why that hasn't been sent to Ukraine. What happens to anti-aircraft fire, because what goes up must come down. Why Ukraine hasn't tried to tunnel under minefields. Putin and Cults with Dr. Stephen Hassan. And finally, the capability of the Stryker combat vehicle. Now, you might notice something a little bit different. I'm in a hotel room in Burbank, California right now. I'm shooting this video on my laptop that propped up on the dresser. I have a flight to Las Vegas in a couple of hours where I'm going to hook up with fellow YouTuber Jake Bro, and we're going to paint the town red. So hopefully I can knock this out now and on my flight because you guys deserve some content. It's been a while since I've put something big out. Before I get started, I want to mention someone, David Allen Gusky, Yeoman 3rd Class of the U.S. Coast Guard. Y3C Gusky served his country honorably during the Vietnam War, where he spent his time rescuing people on the Great Lakes. Y3 Gusky hasn't been feeling too good lately. Look, man, we all get old, but you've got a great family who cares about you, and I hope you feel better soon. Let's get started. Dan asks, would it make sense to send truck-mounted CRAMs to Ukraine? And if yes, why is this not discussed in the media? In addition to artillery defense, would it be effective against Shahed, Lancet, or other drones? What about rockets like KH-22 or similar? So CRAM stands for Counter Mortar Rocket and Artillery. It's a 6-barreled Gatling gun that can fire 75 rounds a second. It is essentially the same gun found on Navy ships to protect those Navy ships against incoming rockets, or incoming missiles, I should say. The CRAM has a range of about 1,500 meters, and the rounds self-destruct after about 2,000 meters. Now, there are only 40 of these systems that were actually made. I think maybe 42. And I actually worked on some software for this system tangentially. So I know a little bit about the system. The system is mainly worried about high-angle threats, and it's good at protecting a very specific location at a base from rockets and artillery. Could it shoot down a missile? It could probably shoot down a missile that was coming directly for it, because that's kind of what the system was designed to do. It was to prevent missiles from hitting Navy ships. I don't know whether it could stop a missile heading in the oblique, like meaning traveling perpendicular to the system. So the system's here and the missile's going this way. I'm not sure it has the math to do that, mainly because that's not what the system was designed for. It's not designed to take a shot from Station 5 in Skeet. It's designed to hit something head-on like Station 1 or Station 8. Not a bad idea, but again, is the juice worth the squeeze? If you send this piece of equipment over, then that's one less piece of equipment that you can send, because there's a limited amount of capacity moving into Ukraine and moving weapon systems over to Ukraine. So, clearing out space for a system that's really only protecting a 1,500 meter radius, it might not be the best use of resources for logistics. So I would say that the reason is that Ukraine they look at this and they go, well, we'd rather have other stuff. All right, next up, staying with the topic of anti-aircraft artillery, Scottie asks, what happens to anti-aircraft fire? What goes up must come down. Like I said in the previous question, anti-aircraft rounds are designed to explode, usually after a fixed amount of time or a certain distance from the launcher. They may also be said to explode near the proximity of a target, a proximity warhead that explodes when it gets close to the target so it can shower it with shrapnel. Back during World War II, the shells are set to explode at certain altitudes manually, so if you got the altitude wrong, the shell could explode above or below your target. And this was a safety feature, but it also created clouds of fragments that you really didn't want to fly into. The real answer is that these shells self-destruct after a certain time or distance. Joris asks, why hasn't the Ukrainian army made tunnels to pass through minefields? So there is some history to this. If you read about Henry Pleasants, he was a mining engineer in the 48th Pennsylvania Infantry Regiment. And when the unit was sent to Petersburg, Virginia, there were multiple attacks against the fortifications at Petersburg, and they just couldn't get through. Henry Pleasants had been a miner. A lot of his soldiers had been coal miners as well. And Henry Pleasants was like, why don't we just dig a tunnel, load it with explosives, detonate it underneath the lines, and run right through the gap. And the generals said, all right, yeah, let's give this a shot. It was successful. It blew this hole. I think it was 52 by 30 or 37 meters, something like that, in the center of the Confederate lines. But the attacking units got stuck in the crater. It was a slaughter. It was like a turkey shoot. They also did this during World War I, where units would try to undermine into the enemy trenches, and then other miners from the other side were trying to undermine those trenches, and there were actual battles going on inside these mines underground. If you want a good book to read about this, Birdsong is an excellent. It's a novel, but the guy who wrote this, I think it was Sebastian Faulks. It was an excellent book. It was really well researched, and it was terrifying. The scenes in the tunnels where these guys are fighting each other inside the tunnels. But why hasn't Ukraine done it? Well, digging a tunnel is really difficult and really expensive. And mining equipment costs money, and you can't really hide it. So if you ship a bunch of mining equipment to an area and you start digging a tunnel underneath the fortifications and the trenches, these days you have satellite photography, you have aerial recon. You're gonna know that something's up. So all you have to do is either find the entrance where all that mining equipment is kept, or you just shower that area with artillery, and now you have no more mining equipment. So again, it's one of those things that might not be a bad idea when you're thinking about it, but just in practice, it'd be very difficult to work because you can't hide all that mining equipment. It's not World War I anymore. Now, Adams asks, cult leaders use lies, deception, and other forms of propaganda to manipulate their followers, sometimes to do horrible things. What similarities do you see between Putin and other cult leaders? What differences? Well, I'm not a doctor. I don't even play one on TV, so I reached out to the foremost expert in cults, Dr. Steve Hassan, and he said,
Dr. Steve Hassan here. Thanks for asking me to respond to your question. Basically, cult leaders have a very stereotypical profile known as malignant narcissism, and Putin fulfills this. The grandiose self-centered behavior, fantasies of power, success and attractiveness, need for praise and admiration, sense of entitlement, lack of empathy, think they're above the law, pathological lying, interpersonally exploitative, sadistic, harassing, violent, paranoid, and inability to trust. And my view, having worked in this field for 47 years as a mental health professional, basically I think of Putin as a political cult leader, and my work focuses on identifying behavior control methods, information control, thought control, and emotional control variables to make people dependent and obedient. And what's so different about Putin? Well, first of all, people forget the Soviet Union was a cult. He grew up in it. He was in the KGB. So his whole mindset was authoritarian to start with. And now he wants to have power. He thinks nothing of murdering people, blowing up people. Unlike a lot of other cult leaders, though, you don't see him boasting and doing other things in the public that demean him. He acts with some statesmanship-esque demeanor. But basically, I think the frame of dictators is a cult leader. In fact, I did a TEDx talk on this and written 4 books on the subject. So I hope this helps.
Dr. Hassan is the author of several books, including the bestseller Combating Cult Mind Control. You can reach him at his website or Amazon page in the pinned comments below. I know I'm going to read a couple of his books. Finally, Supertupe asks, what capabilities does the Stryker have over some of the cheaper APCs like the Patria 6x6, and why does the U.S. military deem the Stryker worth the price? As I've heard, the Patria 6x6 and its predecessor, the PASI, are good enough for most applications. So the Patria is a relatively new Finnish armored vehicle. It costs about $1 million a copy. The Stryker is about $5 million. I have to start by saying that every nation has a niche role for any kind of vehicle that's essentially an armored box that can move. The Russians have the MTLB. The Americans have the M113, or now the AMPV, since the 113 is on its way out. Every nation needs a vehicle that can carry troops and absorb some small arms fire and also absorb artillery fragments. The difference, though, is that the Patria is just kind of designed for low-intensity conflict, things like getting troops to peacekeeping missions or having them fight in peacekeeping missions, whereas the Stryker was kind of envisioned as better than having a Bradley on a ship in the middle of the Atlantic Ocean 2 weeks away from the fight. I have a whole video about General Shinseki and the history of the Stryker. And the idea is that General Shinseki was this American officer who was in the Balkans when America was doing peacekeeping in Bosnia and Kosovo, and he saw these European armored vehicles that were wheeled and were relatively fast and were easy to maintain. And he went, "Oh wow, we should get some of those things." And essentially, his idea with these small, cheap vehicles kind of changed a little bit into a vehicle that was survivable and could be used for medium intensity conflicts or be used as a quick reaction vehicle. Because, like I said, a Stryker that you can fit on a cargo plane right now is better than a Bradley that's 2 weeks away on a ship, right? So the Stryker was made highly survivable. It has a V-shaped hull. So that way, if someone tries to detonate a mine or an IED, an improvised explosive device, on the Stryker, the blast will be directed away. It has a remote weapon station, so the crew doesn't actually have to leave the Stryker in order to fire the weapon. It also has a CBRN, or chemical, biological, nuclear, radiological system that detects threats, and it can also overpressure the vehicle. So any chemical agents trying to get into the vehicle will be pushed out by the pressure from inside the vehicle. So that's why the Stryker is more expensive. It just has more technology packed into it. The Patria 6x6 is really more like an armored car. It's more like an MRAP, a mine-resistant. Actually, I don't even think it's mine-resistant, although there are bolt-on kits that you can get for the thing. But the Patria is more like an MRAP that doesn't have the advantages of an MRAP. And even the manufacturer's website points that out, that it's kind of geared towards peacekeeping missions, and you can buy mine protection for, I would imagine, additional money. And they literally say that in the brochure. So if you want a cheap vehicle for peacekeeping or a vehicle to get troops to the front as a battle taxi, the Patria is just fine. It works. It's only $1 million a pop. But it doesn't have the same sensors and capabilities as the Stryker. And that's it. Hey, if you want to support the channel, get a t-shirt, hoodie, or a couple of stickers from Bunker Branding. Join my Substack for $5, or get a cameo greeting for the person in your life who loves the channel. And thank you guys so much for watching.
Oh, hi, America. It's me, Elon. If you want to be cool like me, go and get a Ryan McBeth t-shirt or hoodie from Bunker Branding. I'm going to get a HIMARS shirt because it fires rockets, and rockets are pretty cool, just like me. Ha ha ha, you fool. It is me, Mark Zuckerberg from Facebook, and I will be the coolest once I get a Patriot shirt because the system is fully automated, just like me. I'm going to get a U.S. Navy Department of the Boat People hoodie because I love their management style. Now, I will be cooler than any of you lads once I get my sweet drone shot. Yeah, I'm going to get a landmine marker shirt because they blow up just like Windows. Well, I'll tell you what I'm going to get. Oh, no, it is Steve Wozniak from Apple. That's right, you nerds. You think you're the coolest for wearing a shirt? Well, Ryan McBeth does all the work, yeah. So go buy a shirt from Bunker Branding to fund Ryan McBeth to increase your understanding. Oh, yeah!